Thanks for being here. Subscribe to Cheating Stories Best, so you don't miss new stories.
What would your reaction be if you found on your wife's desktop a video of her entertaining 3 men at once? Today's story has a similar plot. Enjoy! It was hard for me to imagine that I would ever find myself in this situation. I didn't have a clear explanation. I didn't see it coming, and I didn't see a way out. I sat on a bar stool, sipped my drink, and tried to imagine what my life would be like. 2 hours earlier, I had been on call. I am a network troubleshooter and owner of my own company that provides network engineers to companies on a contract basis. When people have problems with their computers, they call a technician. When a large business has problems with all its computers at once, they call me. I still maintain my skills by going out into the field occasionally. It's high stress, high intensity, and high pay. People go crazy, everything stops, and they think I should just wave a magic wand and make everything go back to normal. Sometimes I can do this, but not this time. Oddly enough, it was the brokerage firm where my wife worked. She didn't work in the building where I was. She had her office on the other side of the city, but I knew she sometimes went there. They had over 200 computers, and not one of them could connect to the network. They were losing money and breathing down my neck just like my mother did. I restored the network and forced them to leave. Now, I needed to find out what caused the failure. It was completely accidental. I was simply looking for traces, hackers, viruses, or any other explanation I could come up with. While running diagnostics, I looked for hidden files since the files for this are usually hidden. There were quite a lot of them. Most were system files, hidden because you shouldn't mess with them. They are hidden so that fools do not accidentally ruin their systems. I looked for files that were not system files and found several. One folder was in a very strange place. It was located in the system folder, 3 levels deep, and labeled Christmas Party. It was the 3rd week of February, so I doubted anyone had planned a guest list. The folder contained 3 MP4 files. I ran a scan and found that the first file was infected with a malicious worm. I made sure it was quarantined and checked the second one. It had the same problem. The third one was clean, so I started it. It took me a while to clear the other 2 files. The first one wasn't much different. There were 5 men and 2 women. I repeated the process. The third one was a bit different. It showed a different office with nice furniture, leather sofas, large comfortable chairs, and a bar. A tall, distinguished gentleman sat at the table sipping a drink. A minute later, the door opened, and a young man and an older man walked in, accompanying a young woman who appeared to be drunk. She had long blonde hair, and I couldn't see her face in the video. "I've been waiting for this moment for a long time," said the older man. "We're going to have a fun party." I recognized this guy. We had met at a convention, and Argent introduced him to me. He was a senior manager at the headquarters of the parent firm of its brokerage franchise. I thought he was a jerk, but she seemed to like him. I didn't think much about him until I saw her dancing with him. I didn't like the way they danced. His leg was between her thighs, and it seemed like she was rubbing against him. I didn't like it when my wife danced with other men without my permission, especially like that, so I intervened. She got angry at me, but I didn't care. "Argent, I'm leaving," I told her. "You can come with me or catch a taxi, whatever you want." "What the hell is wrong with you?" she asked. I turned and left. She followed me and was furious when we got into the elevator. "You didn't even ask me if I could dance," she said. "You jealous idiot," she shouted. "I need to be here for connections," I told her. "I told you this when we came. You don't own me." "I don't need to ask your permission," she said. "You're wrong," I told her. "I own you, and you own me. I own your body, not your mind. You're free to do whatever you want as long as we are married. If you decide that I don't, we'll have to live with the consequences." "Are you threatening me?" She was perplexed. "Stop the elevator now." "I'm going back." I pressed the button for the next floor. The door opened, and she dashed down the corridor towards the stairs. I watched her until the doors closed. Argent was a magnificent woman, no doubt about it. She was perfection in miniature, silky blonde hair that curled like it was alive, small perky breasts made for love, a slender figure with curves in all the right places, and in fifth place that could turn on even a zombie. She could have had anyone, and I always felt incredibly lucky that she chose me. I didn't feel lucky going down the elevator. I left the hotel, got into the car, and drove home, seething with anger the whole way. I poured 2 fingers of rum and took it upstairs, where I changed into shorts and a t-shirt. Then I went downstairs, went outside, and sat by the pool, watching the light flicker on the water from the slight movement. I hadn't been there long when I heard a car in the driveway. I suspected it was Arjun, but I didn't move. The car drove back, and there was silence. She came and found me. She stood in the doorway to the terrace for a minute, looking at me, then went back inside. 5 minutes later, she came out, also changed and with a drink in her hand. She pulled a chair towards me and sat down. We sat in silence for several minutes. "How angry are you?" she asked. I sighed. I was very angry. "Now I'm just disappointed." "I'm sorry," she said. I reacted poorly. "I'm sorry." "No, you didn't react badly," I said. "You did wrong." "I don't want to make you angry," she said. "But please explain what I did to hurt you like that." "Arjun, we have a rule," I said. "We have it for good reasons. It doesn't bother me when you dance. I even like to look at you. The rules are that if we're asked to dance, we always ask each other if we mind. If I don't like a man or you don't like a woman, we agreed that we can say no without any explanation." "Right," she said. "You weren't there when Dean asked," I said. "Then you should have waited until I returned or come and found me. We also have this rule so that if we don't like the person who invited us, we can give each other a sign, and the other can say no." "I understand, but he's my boss," she said. "I wanted to dance with him, and you weren't there." "That's not all," I said. "That's how you danced." "It was just a dance," she said, but she lowered her eyes as if embarrassed. "Do you usually rub your leg against the leg of the person you're dancing with?" I asked. She blushed and couldn't look me in the eyes. "Sorry, I was drinking." "Not to answer your question," she said. "I apologize for my actions and reactions. Let's forget about it, okay?" "That's what I want," I said. I didn't even think about it after that. Watching the video in that office brought the episode into clear focus. I looked back, wondering if the party was an extension of something deeper, if this was the tip of the iceberg. I took a closer look. The woman in the video was Arjun. It was during Christmas because she had cut her hair after the New Year. She was clearly drunk or under the influence of substances but was still able to move around. What happened next stunned me. I sat there for a while, trying to decide what to do. I copied the files, saved them to the flash drive, cleaned up 2 more infected files, and notified everyone via email that the network was working again. I spoke with the head of the department and told him that his employees should avoid searching for adult videos on the internet. He asked who it was, but I told him I couldn't say. I was so angry, hurt, depressed, and overwhelmed with every possible emotion. My thoughts were in chaos, nothing made sense. It felt hopeless. I needed to escape the feeling that the walls were closing in around me. I called my assistant and said I was going home. I got home about 30 minutes before Arjun arrived, which gave me a moment to collect my thoughts. I needed a drink to try and calm my nerves. I couldn't stop my thoughts. How could such information be processed? My wife was having intimacy with not just one man but 3. It didn't seem like a first-time event. I sat and thought about what to do when she came in. She put her things down and sat on my lap. I looked at her. She looked the same as usual. I thought I would be able to see some change in her, some guilt, shame, or something else. This spoke volumes to me. She was good at this. I didn't notice a single change in her, she was exactly the same. There was no difference in the way she acted or treated me. How could this be? "No, it's the worst day of my life," I said. She hugged me. "I'm so sorry. Do you want to talk about it?" "Well, I had a call from Milligan and Wright," I said. "Their network was down. I received notice." "I saw," she said. "Was it difficult to fix?" "No, It was a virus, I said. I had to dig through the files. She didn't seem to care about it, so I assumed she didn't know about the recording. Do you want to see the file? I asked. I wouldn't know the virus if I saw it, she said. Maybe you'll recognize this one, I said. I had my laptop on the small table next to my chair. I took out the flash drive, inserted it, and launched the first video. As it began to play, she tensed. Do you recognize anyone? I asked. Yes, this is Maria. She works in the sales department, she said. One of the guys is a broker. I wonder if she knows she's being filmed, I asked. She suddenly stood up and looked at me, fear evident in her eyes. Is this the only file? She asked. No, there are 2 more, I said. Do you want to take a look now? She was shaking. No, I don't want to, she said. I know, Arjun, I said, trying to keep the anger in her out of my voice. Oh my God, she said, jumping up. Julian, she burst into tears and ran up the stairs. I heard the bedroom door slam shut and sat there, lost in my thoughts. 15 minutes later, I heard a knock, and she came down the stairs carrying one suitcase and dragging a large one behind her. She stopped at the foot of the stairs. Julian, I'm so sorry. Yeah, me too, I said. She cried as she walked to the door, looking small and alone. I had no emotions at that moment. I was simply numb. She left, and I was left alone. Of course, I had questions, but the answers would most likely not have brought me peace of mind, only more pain. I had no idea what to do. How is it possible for a life that was going 100 miles an hour on a closed highway to suddenly turn into a ditch in less than a day? I went to the bar and poured a shot of bourbon. I drank it in one gulp and poured more. I picked up the glass, then put it back. I don't see the point in this, I told myself. It will only be worse for me in the morning. Instead, I went to my box, found some banana frosting, and lit up an indica. I soon began to feel drowsy and went to bed, not remembering any nightmares. The next morning, I had to decide what to do with the rest of the day. My carefully ordered life was clearly in disarray. Maybe it was time to get spontaneous. I called Mar, my older sister, who has always been by my side. This time was no exception. I told her I needed her help, and she said she was on her way. I called work and told Olivia that she would be in charge until I returned. She already did everything better than I did. We wouldn't feel the difference. It's good to be an owner with a protege who is more talented than you. When Marcy arrived, I hugged her. We sat on the sofa. She hugged me, and I told her about my troubles. What are you going to do? She asked. I have no idea, I replied. I think I'll get ready, get in the car, and head west. Where to the west? She asked. I don't know, I answered. Can you help me? Maybe if I knew what you wanted, she said. This is so unlike you, Julian. You plan the next 99 years down to the last detail. I laughed. Well, look where that led. She smiled. What about Arjun? She asked. What do you think? I don't think so, I said. Let her think. Why should I think? She laughed. I don't know. I'm not married, remember? Yes, I said. Why is that? I've always been interested in it, she said. It was strange. I'm extremely beautiful and have had a string of boyfriends and girlfriends as long as my arm. She laughed. I'm easygoing, Julian. I thought you knew that. I can't be tied to one partner. I'm not looking for that. I'm perfectly happy on my own. I like options. Hell, I'm an option. I smiled. Yes, I know. I'm not going to worry about Arjun. She obviously wasn't worried about me. She may be easygoing too, but she doesn't have the dignity to admit it. If she wanted to stay, she would have stayed. Yeah, I guess you're right. So, what do you want me to do? Get me a property manager, I said. Rent this place out. Do your thing. You're a tough lawyer, you know all the moves. I'm not a divorce lawyer, she said. I don't know anything about this. Are you going to file for divorce? I'm not going to do anything, I said. Let her do what she wants. If she doesn't and I want to get married again, you can put me in touch with one of your colleagues who knows about divorces. I can do this, she said. Will you keep me posted? I hugged her. Of course. I love you so much, Marcy. We're family. Maybe I'll become airhead like my big sister. She laughed. I don't think you have the temperament for this, bro, but have a blast. Make me proud. It took me 5 days to free myself, and during that time, I never heard from Argent. Of course, I didn't try to contact her either. I gathered my things, packed what I needed, and was ready. I was going to drive and see where it took me. My car was packed to capacity. It was a 2013 Viper SRT10, yellow and black, not a lot of luggage space, but I managed. I didn't need much: clothes, a laptop, and that was it. I hit the road. It was 444 miles from St. Augustine to Mobile, where I stopped for the night. I was in no rush, just enjoying the ride, the hum of the V10 soothing my soul. My thoughts were full of what had happened, of course. You don't spend 7 years in love with someone and not have it occupy your mind when it's over. Truly, I could think about small things, and I suspected that this would last a long time. I ran through scenarios in my head. Argent comes up with some explanation I could accept, and we're back where we were. I played with this fantasy. I also planned vengeful schemes for revenge and destruction. I was definitely going to be angry at the 3 idiots I could identify. I didn't know how much it was, but I could only deal with what I knew. I got up early and hit the road. I booked a hotel for a week in New Orleans. I had never been there and was planning to explore the city. I thought it would take my mind off things. This was true, except that only in the hotel at night, alone, did the demons come, tormenting me with visions of what was and what could have been. I walked around, visited famous places, stayed out late, and listened to live music. I would ask women I liked to dance, enjoy their company, and then return to my room, where everything would come crashing down on me again. I started to get irritated. Every time I didn't do anything to occupy my mind, reality would rush in again, and I would be stuck. I waited for that text or snap that never arrived, checked my email compulsively, rolled over at night to snuggle with my wife, and woke up to seemingly endless sadness. I called Marcy, and she kept me in the loop. She was kind of my lifeline, and I was grateful for that. A week of disappointment got me back on the road. I spent 2 days in Houston, went to a baseball game, and had a good time. San Antonio and the Riverwalk were awesome. I liked the city and thought about staying for a while, but in the end, I was too restless. Something pulled me west. I got on Interstate 8 near Tucson, drove around, and a week later, stopped in Yuma for the night. It was late when I checked in, around 11 p.m., and I could hear music coming from the pool area. It was an outdoor pool, and I saw a sign that it closed at 11 p.m. I brought my bag and laptop, connected the computer, and then realized that I had forgotten my phone. I walked back to the Viper and heard a little commotion by the pool. The guy at the reception was trying to close the pool. There were 5 obviously drunk guests who wanted to continue the party. They argued with the guy at the front desk, and he called the police. I went back upstairs and watched from the window. 3 guys decided it would be a good idea to fight 2 policemen. As expected, this didn't work for them, and they were arrested, leaving only the girl alone who had left when the guy at the front desk first asked them to leave. She walked past the window and noticed me. Scared, she continued on her way, and I heard her muttering. When she was at the door, she returned to the pool area and appeared to be looking for something after her friends were taken away by the police. I went outside and leaned over the railing. She walked into the office, and I saw her talking to a guy. Obviously disappointed, she went up the stairs and stopped about 10 feet away from me. It was hard to see in the shadows. Was it a good show? She asked. I laughed. Hey, this is the most interesting thing I've seen in almost a month. She seemed to relax a little. You must lead a terribly boring life, she said. That's who I am, I said. The epitome of boredom. What were you looking for down by the pool? I asked. Room key, she said. Are you lucky? No, she said. And that guy at the front desk won't give me a new one. Where's the key card? I asked. One of the idiots I was with probably took it, she said. Are they close friends? I asked. No, she said. I met them 3 days ago. I see. How badly do you need to get into the room? I asked. Well, I need to go to the toilet, she said. Besides, all my things are there. Do you think the police will let them go soon? No, I said. Not tonight. I can help you. Do you think they left the card inside? She asked. Yes, mine is there, I said. Are you some kind of burglar? She asked. I laughed. No, I'm a computer specialist with an Arduino microcontroller. Whatever that means, she said. I'd appreciate it if you'd open the door. I went inside, took my payment, and she was standing in the doorway. Can I use your toilet? She asked. Of course, I said. She walked into the room, stepped into the light, and I was amazed. God, she was beautiful. She had dark skin, and at first, I thought she was black, but then I noticed her eyes and facial features. She noticed that I was looking at her. Nothing, I said. I'll just open your door. Thank you, she smiled at me, her white teeth sparkling and lighting up her face as she closed the bathroom door behind her. I heard the lock click and smiled to myself. I went down to her door, turned off the DC, and plugged in my board. In a second, she entered the code, and the lock clicked. I opened the door and held it open with my slipper. She returned to her room, and a minute later, she came out. When will you open it? She asked. I laughed. It's ready. Really? Oh God, thank you. I don't know your name, she said. Julian, I told her. I'm Tan, she said. She had a charming accent, and I liked her voice. It was low for a woman, a little husky, and very attractively. I'm from Channel G. Well, I've never heard of it, I said. What are you doing in the USA? I asked. I'm backpacking around the country, she said. Yeah, I know they don't do that here, but my people do it all over the world. When I'm done, I'll come back and finish college. How did you meet those idiots down there? I asked. She shrugged. We were picking oranges. We decided to come and see the dunes. Look, Julian, thanks for opening the door for me. I'm going to drop dead and leave here tomorrow. What about your friends? I asked. They're on their own, she said. If they're stupid enough to fight the police, I don't want to be with them. Where are you going? I asked. I don't know yet, she said. Get out of here. Good night, Julian, and thanks again. I walked her to her door, picked up my slipper, and went back to my room. I lay in bed and, for the first time, thought about something other than the terrible end of my marriage. Tan was fascinating, and thoughts about her kept me from slipping into that terrible rut. I slept soundly for the first time since leaving Florida. I grabbed breakfast and headed back to the highway. I had just started to approach the exit, and there she was, standing on the side of the road, clearly looking for a ride. I wondered if she knew how dangerous hitchhiking is. Her gaze never left the Viper. She had a backpack, and that was it. I stopped, and she looked at me. Oh God, is that you, Julian? This is the real me, I said. Is that you, Tan? She laughed. Where are you going, Julian? I don't have a specific destination, I said. To the west. Looks like you're heading in my direction. Would you like to come with me? Yes, may, she asked. Certainly. We managed to pack her backpack in the trunk, got into the car, buckled up, and hit the road. I drove off, and she was clearly delighted with the Viper. This is the coolest car I've ever been in, she said. I've had it for 7 years, but I've never taken it on such a long trip before. It's as much fun as I always knew it would be. Is it fast? She asked. I pinned us to the seats and accelerated to 100 before slowing down to the legal limit. She laughed, and her large, black, exotic eyes sparkled with delight. "Oh my God," she said. We made ourselves comfortable. "Where do you think you're going, Tan?" I asked. "I'm not sure," she replied. "I need to work sometimes. I work, save money, then move to a new place. Maybe I'll get a job in California picking fruits, vegetables, or something like that. Sometimes I work as a bartender or waitress. Cooking. Are you a good bartender?" I asked. "Not really," she laughed. "I have to look up recipes for everything, and I'm pretty slow. I learn, but then I forget if I don't do it for a while." We rolled forward, chatting amiably. The conversation ended when she asked, "Where's your wife, Julian?" It all came back so strongly that I had to stop. Fortunately, we were just passing a rest area, and I turned in there. "I need a break," I said. She went to use the facilities, and I sat under a tree at a picnic table. A few minutes later, she came and sat next to me, handing me one of the soda cans she had bought. "Sorry, Julian. It's none of my business." "It's not you," I said. "It's still pretty fresh." "It's normal, really," she said. "Well, I don't know what it is," she said. "Something bad, probably." "How long has it been?" she asked. "Less than a month," I replied. "Actually, it happened last Christmas, but I only found out about a month ago." "Did she cheat on you?" she asked. "Tell me you didn't cheat on her." I smiled bitterly. "No, I didn't cheat on her. You don't know me well, Tan, but I don't have that in my character. God knows I have many flaws and problems, but disloyalty is not one of them. I have a different idea of myself. If I was going to cheat, I would be honest about it." "I'm sorry," she said. "How do you know?" "Quite by accident," I said. I told her what happened. "Wow, what a coincidence," she said. "I think cheaters always get caught." I know it's not always the case, but there are so many ways to get caught. My face would give me away. "Yes, me too," I said. "I would feel so guilty that I wouldn't be able to behave normally. That's what really surprises me about my wife. I didn't have the slightest suspicion, and she never behaved differently." "Why should you suspect?" "You trusted her," she said. "That's what you do when you're in love." "Maybe it didn't bother her," she said. "What did she tell you?" "She said she was sorry as she walked out the door." "This is all." "Yeah, I haven't heard a word from her since then." "Have you tried to contact her?" she asked. I shrugged. "Why?" "Like I told my sister, I'm not going to put in the effort. If she wants to do something, she has my number. I didn't ruin it, at least not like that." "I understand," she said. "I'm sorry it happened like that. How did you know that I was married?" I asked. You have that ring there," she said. I looked at my finger, and sure enough, there was a pale indentation where the ring had been. "I need to sunbathe," I said. I smiled at her, and she patted my hand. "Maybe when we get to California," she said, "let's lie down on the beach and sunbathe." "I need to ask you something," I said. "Come on," she said, leaning her elbows on the table and looking at me expectantly. God, she was so sweet. "I'll give you a ride wherever you want," I said. "Do you need to camp, or do you have enough money for hotels?" She scrunched up her cute little nose. "Staying in hotels will quickly drain my wallet." "I mostly camp," she said. "Do you know how dangerous hitchhiking is?" "I don't know about camping, but if I were a woman, I'd be very careful." "Oh, I'm careful," she assured me. Quick as lightning, she grabbed me by the throat and pointed a stun gun at my face. I was shocked, and she laughed and let me go. I coughed for a few seconds. "Damn, Tan, what was that?" I asked. She laughed again. "I'm tough," she said. "I know what I'm doing. No one can take me by surprise." "Well, damn it, I don't think they can. Just please don't paralyze me." "No," she said, "I like you. You treat me well." "Yes, I am. I'm going to the toilet now." That's what stun guns do to me, she laughed. Okay, meet me in the car. We continued on our way, and she made me stop at a store for some snacks. As I found out, the girl ate constantly, and we almost bought out the entire store. My card got damaged, and she laughed about it too. Since I promised to buy snacks, she wanted to stop every time she saw something interesting, and our progress was slow. Since I didn't have an end goal, I was happy to be a part of it. She chatted with me constantly, filling the car with her cheerful voice. She was the happiest person I had ever met, in love with life, and her enthusiasm was contagious. We got into an argument about what to do in the evening. I insisted on a hotel, but she stubbornly wanted to find a camping spot. I won the argument and booked us into the Holiday Inn Express. I promised to go camping with her, but I had no such intention. I lied at the top of my lungs and thought we would argue again the next evening. I planned to win this argument too. We had dinner and went for a walk along the main street of the city, looking into the windows of closed shops. When we returned, I told her that I was going to the gym. She wanted to join me, so we changed and went downstairs. She laughed when she saw my look. I'm kind of a gym rat when I'm at home, she said. It's noticeable, I said. You are a wonderful woman, Tan. She blushed, a slight pink hue spreading across her face, making her look even more adorable. She became a little shy. Thank you, she said. I see you work out often too. I lift weights 4 days a week and do cardio 5, I said. It's hard for me to resist food. She laughed. Yeah, me too. She was tall, I realized as I stood next to her, probably about 6 feet. Her nails were white and very long. She looked at me, and those huge, slightly raised black eyes were like dark lakes. This is fine? She asked. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. This girl fascinated me. When we got to the gym, there were a lot of cardio machines, but only dumbbells and a couple of weight machines. We made it through, and I quickly realized that she was very strong. I've been in gyms my whole life, and she was on par with the strongest women I've seen. She was an impressive lady. She ran on the treadmill while I used the elliptical machine. After we finished, we went back to our rooms. I showered and slept well again. The next morning, I had a text from Marcy, call me. I wanted to have breakfast, so I went down to where the food was served, filled a plate, took coffee, sat down at an isolated table, and called her. We chatted for a bit, and Tan came over, took the food, and sat across from me. My sister, I whispered, and she nodded, all her waves and locks of hair bouncing excitedly. Her hair was black like a raven's wing, very curly, voluminous, and reaching to the middle of her back. Argent called me last night, Marcy said. Huh? What did she want? I asked. It's been a long story, she said. I won't repeat it. I think she wants to tell you herself. Do I need to hear this? I asked. She laughed. Probably not. If you want to know, talk to her. If you're done, move on. She's expecting me to call her or something, but that's not going to happen. I think she was going to text you and ask if you could call her. I'm not sure, she was talking about meeting you. Well, that's a problem, I said. Not that I'm going to do it, but I'm in El Centro, California, and I'm going to head north after I check out San Diego, rather than head back east. I don't know what to tell you, she said. Do as you please, brother. Thanks for telling me, I replied. Love you, sister. Love you. Bye. I put the phone on the table and looked at Tan. She was eating a banana and raised one perfect dark eyebrow. Everything okay? She asked. Yes. My sister, her name is Marcy, told me that my wife talked to her. She wants to talk to me. Damn, sorry, Julian. What are you going to do? Nothing, I said. So, you want to talk to her? I'm not sure, I said. Do you think you could get back together? She asked. I can't answer that at the moment. I don't think I know who she is at all, I said. I thought for a minute. She took a piece of muffin and fell silent for a minute. I'm not sure. I'd be shocked by one. No, I said. If you want to know, ask her. If not, you're with me. She said, I'll distract you. I laughed. You really are a distraction. You're a fun travel companion, Tan. I know, right? She laughed. Where are we going today? I was thinking about San Diego, I said. Were you there? She shook her head, and all her curls wobbled. No, I came from New York. How long are you here? I asked. She thought for a minute. 17 months. I heard San Diego has a great zoo, I said. We could go to SeaWorld. Oh yeah, that sounds fun, she said. How much does it cost? I have no idea, I said. I'll buy the tickets. You, Tan, distract me. She laughed and agreed, but added, we need to find a camping spot. I sighed. What's your deal with this camping thing? It's inconvenient. I understand why you do it, but we don't need to camp while you're with me. Okay, she said, but I want you to feel what it's like to be free, Julian. Just forget about the world, get back to basics, and live life. I don't like insects, heat when I sleep, or sleeping on the ground, I said. She laughed. I get it. I'm not a fan of this either. I need to buy you some equipment to make you feel comfortable. You know what? I said. Let's make a deal. She rested her face on her hands, elbows on the table, and looked at me expectantly. God, she was so sweet. We'll stay at a hotel in San Diego. We'll go up and visit San Francisco, and then I'll go camping with you in Redwood National Park. Deal? She hesitated. This could be costly, Julian. Are you embarrassed to say how much money you have? She looked like she didn't want to talk about it. Her eyes turned away from mine, and she seemed embarrassed. Hey, it's okay, I said. Look, I was crossing the country, stopping at cool places, seeing sights, and I was miserable. All I could think about was what happened with Argent. It was sucking the life out of me. Ever since I met you, I've been having fun. I hardly think about all that nonsense, and it's thanks to you. I want to continue to have fun while we can be together. Okay, she said after a moment. Damn it, I like you. I like being with you. You're a good guy, and it's always more fun when you have someone to do things with. I agree, I breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you, Tan. You're a wonderful girl. Are we friends? Oh yes, she said. Are you ready to hit the road? The San Diego Zoo was cool, and I'd been to SeaWorld in Florida before, but this place was just as fun. Tan made every minute memorable. She was so innocent in a special way, it seemed that every second was new and exciting for her. She drew energy from some endless source and was absolutely in love with life. She was completely unpredictable and spontaneous, and I had fun just being around her. Walking around the zoo, she took my hand, and this became our habit. We ate every new treat we could, and she loved them all, no matter how unhealthy they were. In my room after SeaWorld, I received a message from Argent. I almost deleted it but finally opened it. Can we meet and talk? I have something to tell you. I considered not answering but eventually sighed and made up my mind. It won't work. I'm in San Diego. When will you be back? Not sure, I sent. Maybe never. Can I call? Yes, just once, I replied. Arjun, if I want to talk after this, I'll call. Got it? Yes, she replied. I would really like to talk to you in person. That won't happen in the foreseeable future, I said. This caused her to send me a sad emoji. My phone then vibrated. It was her number. I accepted the call. Hi, Julian. Could you tell me what you're doing in San Diego? She asked. I didn't expect this to be the first question. Well, my life recently fell apart, I said. I thought I should move away from my mental health. I heard her hold her breath. It took her a second to compose herself. I understand. My life has collapsed too. I heard that when you cheat on your husband and have orgies at work, it's not always fun when he finds out. I promised myself not to be vulnerable. I wanted to show her how much it hurt, but I couldn't help myself. All the bitterness, anger, and pain pour out of me in caustic sarcasm. She was again shocked by the silence. What the hell did she expect? That I would sympathize with her? Okay, I guess I deserved it, she finally said. I heard her trying to hold back her tears. Can we talk without all this hysteria? I know you're suffering, Julian, and I'm sorry I caused it. Hitting me might help you, but can I just tell you what's on my mind without you attacking me after every sentence? I sighed. I was suddenly overcome with fatigue, tired of all this drama. What do you mean, Argent? She was silent for a moment. First of all, I want to apologize to you. I know this is absolutely not enough, but I'm sorry, Julian. What exactly are you apologizing for? I asked. For everything I've done, she said. I'm sorry for betraying you, for hurting you, for your suffering. You're a good person, Julian, and I'm sorry for what I've done to you every minute of every day. Okay. Anything else? I asked. Yes, she said. I hope that someday you will forgive me and not think of me with hatred in your heart. So am I said. I think I owe you an explanation. I want you to know that I love you and would be happy if I could become your wife and spend the rest of my life with you. Well, I don't want to get hysterical, but this seems a little inconsistent with your video and the extracurricular activities on it, I said. She let out a small sob. Yes, I know, but it's true nonetheless. What were you doing, Argent? Do you mind telling me that? Yes, I object, but I'll say it anyway, she said. It was a combination of a lot of things. One of them was that I slept with everyone I could to get ahead in the ranks, Julian. It was partly because of my career and partly because of who I am as a person. I think you'll have to explain what you mean by who I am as a person, I said. Julian, you know I wasn't when we met, she said. You never asked me about it, and I never did either. I didn't ask you either, I said coldly. Don't get me wrong here, I've never experienced anything as satisfying as making love to you. It's still the best intimate I've ever had. That's comforting, I said. Stop being so sarcastic, she said. I'm telling you the truth. I never told you this because I didn't think it was important, but I love intimate, Julian. It's just physical pleasure for me. Before I met you, if I liked someone and wanted to have intimate with them, I did it. There was no emotion, only physical desire. When we met, I realized that there is a psychological aspect, a spiritual side. I like it, and I love you. You gave me something I had never experienced before, but I missed the thrill of a new partner, from many partners, from the opportunity to simply surrender to physical sensations. I thought I could have both. I regret that I didn't try to involve you. Maybe. Sorry, but that would never have happened, I said. I would have appreciated it if you had warned me, though. I know I was stupid. I wasn't going to stop, so it would have happened sooner or later anyway, she said. Is that all you wanted to say? No, she said. I want to say a million things, to beg you, to make you understand, to convince you that everything may be fine, but everything is already ruined. I wish you all the best, Julian. I love you, and I probably always will. I have my demons, and they're not yours. If you ever want to talk, call me. When and if you come back, let me know, and I'll give you a chance to get back at me. Okay, I said, trying to hide a laugh. I'll look forward to it. Surprisingly, when I ended the call, I felt better, not good, but better. Sometimes what you don't want to hear may be exactly what you need to hear, I thought. Let's see what Tan says in the morning. The thought of this brunette goddess made me smile, and the smile remained on my lips until I fell asleep. When I woke up, I texted Tan, saying that I wanted to invite her to breakfast instead of eating at the hotel buffet. She sent me a picture when she was ready, and seeing her smile was the right way to start the day. I decided we packed up and hit the road, stopping at a place that offered breakfast all day. I feel like you have something you want to tell me, she said after our food arrived. I forgot to put on my tinfoil hat, I said jokingly. You're reading my mind. She laughed. Yes, I have such abilities. I can imagine you have them. You're some kind of little witch, I told her. Yes, I really have something to tell you. Argent texted me last night and then called me. Oh, what did she say? Or do you not want to talk about it? No, I want to tell you. We talked for a while. Basically, she just likes intimate with different people. She apologized for not being honest with me, said that she still loves me but is not going to give up intimate with other people. We agreed that separation would be the best decision for both of us. There was a questioning look on her face. God, she was so sweet. How do you feel about this? She asked. Probably relieved, I admitted. I felt pretty insufficient, Tan, like there was something missing in me, something I couldn't give her because I just wasn't good enough emotionally, mentally, and probably even physically. And now? I laughed. Well, apparently, there really was something I couldn't give her because I'm only one person. She smiled at me. What about the voices? I laughed. They're pretty quiet right now. They're telling me that we should see what kind of trouble we can get ourselves into today. What do your voices say? Same thing, she said. Can we go to Hollywood? We can, I said. We spent 2 weeks in and around Los Angeles. We decided that to really see all the places, go everywhere we wanted, and do everything there was to do there, it would take 10 years. Tan was starting to feel a yearning for change by the time we decided to move on. These 2 weeks were more fun than the previous 2 years of my life. I felt it was great not having to worry about work, homework, and basically not having anything to stress about. Of course, this couldn't go on forever, I would have to do something eventually. But it was nice to just go with the flow, let whatever happens happen, and Tan was a total free spirit. We left Los Angeles with some regret and headed up the coast to San Francisco. By that time, we were already old friends, and I felt absolutely comfortable with Tan. She obviously felt the same way, and I began to realize that this girl, this woman, was the one I wanted in my life. All the time we had silly conversations, just teasing each other, and deep philosophical discussions too. We were driving, the music was playing loudly, and when I looked at her, her eyes were closed and her head was resting on the back of the seat. I was a little surprised when she suddenly reached out to turn off the music. She pressed herself close to me, resting her head on my shoulder, and all her curls covered us like a curtain. Julian, can I ask you something? Of course, I said. That sounds serious. No, just a question. I was reminded of this song we were listening to, and it got me thinking. It's personal, so brace yourself. I hugged her again. Understood. Are you still in love with Argent? She asked. I sighed. I don't like what she did. It's hard to love cheaters, Tan. I have a lot of residual feelings for her, yes. Well, you said that she told you she still loves you and wants to marry you, right? That's what she said. Well, I was wondering, why don't you want to marry her? I was silent for a minute, and she looked at me with those exotic, upturned dark eyes, piercing my soul. You are angry, she said. No, just collecting my thoughts, I said. Think of it this way, let's say you and I are business partners. Let's say we make and sell widgets. Let's say we've been selling them for 10 years, and one day you find out that I made a deal with a company to sell them widgets. She laughed. Oh, my favorite things, gadgets and widgets. I laughed too. Yeah, right. But I did this for 5 years and never told you about it. You're my partner, but I ran this business for 5 years and kept you in the dark. How do you feel about that? Betrayed, she said. I understand what you mean, and I probably feel the same way, she said. There was silence for a moment, and she rubbed her cheek against my hand. I'm sorry, Julian. Thank you, I said. Can I ask you something else? Imagine the situation you described, but suppose I was the person selling the widgets and I got you involved from the beginning, and we sold the widgets together. It's a completely different game, I said. Maybe I would like to sell widgets with you, or I wouldn't be interested. But either way, you would be honest and not scheming behind my back. She fell silent for a minute. Yeah, I think honesty is everything. It may not be all of it, but it's a big part. If she had told you that she was interested in this from the beginning, would you have married her? She asked. No, I don't think so, I said. What's the point if you're going to live like you're alone? Why get married? I don't know, she said. I'm sure I'll come up with something. I laughed. Well, be sure to tell me when you come up with an idea. Definitely. I'm pretty smart, she said. I know. And she's damn cute too. I said. She blushed. Thank you. I thought she really had no idea. She didn't really think about her appearance. She simply considered herself tan and didn't think about anything else. We wandered around San Francisco, visited Chinatown, tried some obscure but delicious food, explored Fisherman's Wharf, attended 2 dinner theaters, and had a great time. We were having dinner and watching a show when I could see that she was thinking about something. What? I asked. When do we go camping? She asked. Oh God, you won't let me forget about this, will you? I said. She laughed. No, you promised. I don't have any equipment, I said. Where am I going to put this? We're not driving a truck. Let's leave the Viper in the parking lot and rent a Jeep or something, she suggested. I'll help you pay. It was clear that it would not be possible to leave, so I gave up. We parked the Viper, rented a small Jeep Renegade, and stopped at Dick's Sporting Goods. Wow, that's a big Dick's, she said as we pulled up, then laughed until she cried when she realized what she'd said. It was infectious, and we could barely get inside. I didn't intend to exhaust myself too much. I bought a tent, foam mattresses for sleeping bags, a small gas stove, several cooking pots, good thermal bags, and a voltage converter. We both pushed the cart as we walked out, and she was delighted with everything. We might as well take the hotel number with us, she said. She laughed. We could take the hotel room with us. We stopped at a grocery store, shopped, and she reserved a campsite in the backcountry on her phone while I bought food and drinks. We filled our thermal bags with ice and set out on our adventure. It took us 5 trips from the Jeep to the campsite to transport our gear, and she announced that this would be base camp only, and that we would hike further into the forest and spend one night there as true savages. There was a small fire pit, and when it got dark, we cooked dinner and built a fire. I poured tequila into tin mugs, and we sat around the fire on a log, sipping our drinks. We disappeared into a pleasant fog. I want to pack up my sleeping bags and look at the stars, she said. I laid the mattresses and bags next to each other, and we lay down, looking at the night sky through the redwood trees. That's so good, huh, Julian, she said. I had to admit that it was true. There was nothing to be heard here except nature, no people, and it seemed as if only Tan and Julian were left in the universe. I mindlessly played with one of her curls, twirling it around my finger, wrapping my other hand around her, and gently massaging her back. We fell asleep in this position, and I don't know how long we slept, maybe an hour or more. I felt her moving in my sleepy haze. She fidgeted for a minute, then stood up. I didn't move. She returned to her previous position, but I felt her cover us with a blanket. Something seemed strange about this, and slowly I regained consciousness. I always hated camping while I was doing it, but I had fond memories of it later. Nothing like this, though. I figured it was the company that made it special. When we returned in the evening, she asked me to set up a hotspot on my phone so she could use my laptop. We went back, got it, and she went online. What are you looking for? I asked. A job, she said. Really? What job? We'll see, she said. This is how I can afford to stay in the US. I need a job. I understand, I said, watching her, a wrinkle forming on her forehead as she worked. I like the sound of this one, she finally said. Which one is this? I asked. Picking almonds, she said. It's in the Central Valley. I like almonds. Me too, I said. Do you know anything about this? No, actually. I've picked apples, citrus, and peaches. It's hard work, but it's outdoors, and they provide a place to live, like a little cabin. She looked at me. Come with me, Julian. I laughed. Hey, I don't need a job. She looked sad. I was hoping, her voice faded and broke off. What? I asked. Well, did last night mean anything to you? She asked. Are we just friends, or is there more to it? Tan, it meant a lot to me, I told her. Don't think for a minute that it wasn't like that. I don't know what it means yet, but it means something, that's for sure. I don't want to lose track of you. I know that too, she smiled, a happy smile. She closed the laptop and sat between my legs on the rug, leaning against me. It meant something to me too, she said. I understand, I said. I love you too, Tan. I'm just trying to wrap my head around that, you know? So am I, she said. If I find a job and you don't come with me. I never said I wouldn't go with you, I said. I said I didn't need a job. But you have to work there to stay, she said. Give me a minute to think, I said. Okay, I'll be as quiet as a mouse, she said. How long will you think? As long as you think, I laughed. You said you would remain silent. Now tell me what you were thinking. That's what I was thinking, I said. I need to know something from you. What did you want to know? How long do you plan to stay in the US? Well, I don't really have a plan, Julian. I just do things, you know. I laughed. Yeah, I know. I mean, years? Months? Months for sure, she said. Maybe years. Why? Do you have family back where you came from? Yes, I have a mother and a brother. So, are you sure you'll come back? Yes, I love them, Julian. This is my home. When I'm ready, and I don't know when that will be, I want to see them. Okay, let's say you stay a year. Is that possible? Yes, I'd say it's likely. Will you be with me if it works? Yes, she said. I can't wait to hear it then. Okay, we will go to the valley and collect almonds. I will work with you, but you also have to agree to something. After we finish picking almonds, you will come with me to Florida, I said. She tilted her head back to look me in the eyes, and she was so beautiful it took my breath away. Okay, but why, and what are we going to do there? We will live together. She laughed. We've been doing this for a while now. I smiled at her. Yes, but making love is the new part of it. I love being with you, Tana, but I'm still pretty disheartened by how things ended with Argent. Do you understand? Yes, I really love you very much, and I'd like to see where this goes. Is that what you want? She nodded. Yes, but explain how it will work. What's your major in college? I'm studying to be a nurse practitioner, she replied. I have an idea, I said. We'll live together. You'll go to the University of Florida, and we'll see what happens. I need money, really, she countered. I sighed. Yes, I understand. Here's what I'm proposing. If you live with me, you won't have to worry about housing, food, and such things. You'll only have to pay for school fees, books, and pocket money. She nodded. You know there are jobs in Florida too, right? Yes, I said. But picking citrus fruits or bartending doesn't pay for school, she said. I would need a better job. I could live pretty frugally backpacking, but I need a good job to go back to school. Could you work for me? No, she said. This could get complicated. Besides, what would I do? I don't know, I said. Could you manage the office? Yeah, I think I could. I've never done it, but I'm smart and I work hard. I hugged her, giving her physical reassurance. I know you are smart and work hard. I would hire you as a regional office manager, but when would I go to school? I sighed. Yes, how long do you have until you get your degree? I have a bachelor's degree in nursing. It will take me 4 semesters to get my master's degree. Then I could work while I get my doctorate, she said. Why are we picking almonds when you have a bachelor's degree? I asked. I'm not certified to work in the US, she said. Ah, I see. Will you let me lend you some money? I asked. No, I don't want to accumulate debt, she said. I laughed. I understand that, of course, but I would be a very gentle lender, I promise. Yes, I know you would. Can't we just go pick almonds and see what happens? We can. When should we go? In 2 weeks, she said. We spent a week and a half camping, and I have to admit I never thought I would enjoy it as much as I did. It was Tana. She was an adorable little witch, and just watching her was an amazing experience. We packed up, drove back to San Francisco, dropped off the Jeep, picked up the Viper, donated our camping gear to charity, and headed into the valley. Harvesting almonds turned out to be quite an experience. It was hard work, and the other pickers were also very interesting people. The owner of the orchard was a friendly man, and despite our lack of experience, he was happy to see us. He put us in a small 2-room hut with a kitchen and a bedroom. Bathrooms and showers were shared, as was the kitchen. It was simple but clean, and it seemed to Tana that it was just right. Of course, I was less optimistic, but it was not bad. Jim, the owner, trained me on the shaker machine. I led her through rows of trees, and she had a device that would reach and shake each tree. The almonds would fall like rain. It became boring after the initial impression, and shaking 2,500 trees a day was something I could physically do. The almonds lay on the ground drying, and then broom machines piled them into banks between the rows of trees. I drove a tractor, pulling a machine that picked up the shafts and loaded them into trucks. There were a dozen different jobs, and we learned everything. It was grueling long days, and in the evenings there was usually a party at the communal kitchen. Other workers were a mixture of white and Hispanic itinerant workers who followed the harvest, moving up and down the coast picking what was in season. We loved hearing their stories, and they cared about each other. We were strangers at first, but they quickly accepted us, especially Tana. Everyone loved her, and she soon became everyone's little sister. The only dissonance was in the second week after our arrival. A van pulled up with a foot-tall sign reading Jehovah is King. A tall, thin man with a large bushy beard and wearing a kippah got out of the car. Jim introduced us to him as Claude Moore. He shook my hand, ignoring Tana, and said, "I am Claude Moore. Jehovah is my king and Jesus is my savior." "Cool, dude." "I'm Julian, and this is Tana," I said. He didn't even look at her. A very reserved, tall, red-haired woman and 4 small children stepped out of the van. "This is your family?" I asked. "Yes," he replied. "You can join us in prayer tonight." "Thank you," I said. I took Tana's hand, and we walked towards our hut. "Well, an eccentric guy," I said. She laughed. "He's creepy as hell." He didn't look at me but studied me out of the corner of his eye. He looked at my chest 10 times in 2 minutes. "Really?" I didn't notice it. "Believe me, I know," she said. "Women always know when men are looking at their breasts." I looked at them, like before us. She laughed. "Yeah, but you tried not to. It's not the same with him as with that guy." "I want to look at them now," I said. She laughed, and her t-shirt and bra were on the floor almost before I finished my sentence. Mr. Moore was quite aggressive in his faith. We never joined in his prayers, and he thought we should. After a week, I tried to avoid him, but he caught us as we were leaving the communal kitchen and began to attack us. "Do you know that intimate immorality is a sin?" he said. "Stay out of our business," Tana said. "Condemning sin is my business," he said. He still didn't look directly at Tana, but I realized that she was right. He was throwing sidelong glances at her. "Listen, Mr. Moore," I said. "We don't want any trouble. Just leave us alone. We're not bothering you, we're just doing our job and not bothering anyone." "Harlots will be thrown into the lake of fire," he said. Now he's really pissed me off. "Do you want me to hit you?" I asked. "Say anything about Tana again, and you'll spit out your teeth." "God's people do not fear the ungodly," he said. "I'm sure God's people don't stare at women's breasts," Tana noted. "And clothing tempts even the righteous," he said. "I am tired of this." "Come on, Tana," I said. We started to walk away, and he made the mistake of following us. The manifestations of the flesh are obvious: fornication and adultery. I turned around and grabbed him by the throat, pushing him back towards the building. "Shut the hell up," I said. "Or do you want me to silence you?" "Julian, he's not worth it," she said, tugging at my arm. You have no power to harm me, he said. I am one of the 2 witnesses spoken of in Revelation 11 who will be killed in the streets of Jerusalem and will be resurrected 3.5 days later. God will protect the 2 witnesses and destroy their enemies with the fire of their testimony. Damn, you're crazy, more. Get away from us, otherwise you won't make it to Jerusalem. I let Tana pull me away, and I was furious. Don't let him get to you, Julian. I've seen them before, she said. Yes, religion is a big deal at home, she said. There will always be those smug idiots telling everyone they'll be thrown into the lake of fire. I know religious people, I said. I respect them even if I don't agree, but I've never met anyone like that idiot. 3 days later, we caught him beating one of his children behind the warehouses, and he and Dave beat him to a pulp. Jim fired him, and he left within the hour. I'm glad I wasn't involved. I just feel sorry for that woman and the children, Tana said with tears in her eyes. Yes, there are many accidents in the world, you know. Tana, you are such a doll. I love how big your heart is, I said. She winced for a minute, but it wasn't in her nature to stay upset for long. The almond harvest season was coming to an end, but Jim offered us a job trimming trees. We worked for another month, and I liked the job. I loved working next to Tana, and we turned it into a party. It was an interesting life, and I could understand the appeal. The money was worthless, but there was no point in spending it either. It was freedom, no big worries, just the satisfaction of a job well done and being with someone as fun and exciting as Tana made it something unforgettable. At the end of the month, we said goodbye to Jim and headed to Florida. We continued our carefree lifestyle, and it took us a month to travel from one coast to the other. I was looking forward to meeting Tana with Marcy, and they hit it off right away. They both loved me and enjoyed making fun of me. Marcy told her funny stories from our childhood, and Tana told her stories about our time together. Marcy and I were alone in the kitchen, and she said in a quiet voice, "Damn, bro, how could you get so lucky?" "I know, right?" I said. She repeated a thought that crossed my mind 10 times a day. "You landed on your feet. God, she's a treasure, Julian. She's beautiful, sweet as honey, and smart. You'll have to hang in there. This girl could be a star." I agreed. But I don't think she has those thoughts. She agreed, Marcy said. No, but I could. Do you love her? Love? I wasn't sure at first. I mean, she's obviously so sweet, but at first, we were just friends, then free lovers. But the more time I spend with her, the more it feels like she's cast a spell on me. Every time she touches me, I get a wave of euphoria. It's hard to explain. I think you said it perfectly, she said. You're in love, Julian, and she adores you. It's written all over her face. I hope so, I said. Because I never want to lose her. We rented a place in Ocala, and Tana began her master's degree in nursing at the University of Florida. I went there and paid for her tuition, and she never asked questions. I introduced her to Olivia, who also fell in love with her. I think Olivia created a position for her, but she worked online and handled scheduling, contracts, and orders. She applied to extend her work visa and for citizenship, and the company sponsored her. She didn't earn much, but she made a decent salary working after school. I had a fully restored Triumph Spitfire, and she fell in love with it. It became her daily driver, and seeing her drive up to our house during the day always left me in awe. I drove my truck and started working again. If Tana missed her family and her island paradise, she never showed it. One evening, we sat huddled together on the sofa, watching something meaningless on TV. My legs were on the ottoman, and her legs were on mine. Tana, are you happy? I asked her. Delighted, she said. Why? Well, you have one more semester to complete your master's degree. Are you going to work or are you going to get your doctorate? I'm going to get my doctorate, she said. Are you going back to Micronesia? Yes, I want to come back when I finish my master's, she said. For good? I asked. Oh my God, Julian, why are you even asking me this? She looked offended. Tana, we never talk about this. I know what you're like, you just like to live one day at a time. I understand that and I love how spontaneous you are, but I need you to understand me too. No plans, no commitments. I won't stay there. I'm with you, don't you know that? I don't want to make assumptions, I told her. God, Tana, I love you so much. I am hopelessly, desperately in love with you. She pressed herself close to me. I love you forever, she said. I love it. It makes me so happy, beautiful. She looked at me. Julian, why are you still married? She asked. Why didn't you file for divorce? This shocked me a little. I hadn't really thought about it. I think it's just inertia. I should apply. Why are you asking this? You want me to make plans and let you know where my head is, but I live with you. We are together, and you keep me in limbo. Are you saying that you want to get married? God, I couldn't ask for anything better. I didn't know you'd want this. I wasn't sure how you would react. You seem a little different. Tana, you didn't ask me, and you can't, she said. Wow. Well, I don't know what to say. I think I have some work to do. I wasn't worried because I thought that if Arjun wanted to get married again, she could do it. We need to learn to communicate a little. It's better here, Tana. We're doing well, she said. I tell you everything, but you keep that bottled up. Don't tell me how you feel. I know you love me, but you're afraid you'll scare me away if you ask for commitment. What's my vision? There's a future. I had to admit that there was truth in this. I didn't want to put pressure on her or make her feel uncomfortable, but that was because she didn't bring it up and I wasn't sure she wanted it. She was such a free spirit, and although she talked to me constantly, it was in-the-moment conversation. This will change, I decided. The next day, I made an appointment with a lawyer. A week later, Arjun was served. I received a message, really, Julian? Just completely unexpectedly, without warning or even communication. Sorry, that was rude, I replied. Where are you? Ocala. Can you meet me and talk about it? I'll have to check with whom. I didn't answer. I told Tana what I did. Do you want to meet her? Not really. I think I need to do this, though. Tell her you'll meet her for lunch on Friday in Gainesville. I'll go with you, she said. I think this is a bad idea, I said. Are you going to kick her 5th place or something? She asked, laughing. No, but I want to meet her. She was a part of your life, and I want to see it for myself. I also think you deserve a little payback. I think you're with me, she said. She won't like it. Why don't you ruin it for lovers or something? To be honest, I was going to do it, I said. Then I met you and kind of forgot about her. This is so good for my ego. I still think you should ruin them, she said. I laughed. Tana is cruel. I couldn't stop laughing. You are killing me. How about we ruin their computers? Oh yes, can we? She asked. I have access to their network, I said. Hey, I need to text Arjun. Then we will ruin them. I arranged to meet her for lunch without mentioning that Tana would be with me, and we began our revenge. Tana took unholy pleasure in the whole process, giggling evilly the whole time. Every new problem I asked them about irritated her again. None of them were able to keep their jobs, and the 2 I knew who were married accidentally sent the video to their wives. Tana's thirst for revenge was satisfied. When we met Arjun, she was fashionably late, as always, and when the host brought her to the booth, she looked a little shocked to see Tana. I introduced them. Tana wasted no time. You're A, she said. Arjun sighed. Yes, I know. How did you know? I saw what you did to him, Tana said. I regretted it every minute, Arjun told her. I don't, Tana said. He's mine now, and I'm so glad you did it, except for how much it hurt, Tana said. Julian is yours? Asked Arjun. Yes, but she's loyal, I said. Yes, I am, Tana said. They sized each other up for a minute. God, you're beautiful, Arjun told her. Thank you, Tana replied. I think you're so damn cute. I think you'll always be cute, Arjun said. Are you attracted to women? Arjun asked her. Yes, some women, Tana said. I looked at her, and she smiled mischievously at me. What women are wonderful. I like beautiful things, Tana said. I had no idea, I said. Oh, he just recently became yours? Asked Arjun. No, we've been together for almost 2 years, Tana said. This topic wasn't raised before. At the moment, I'm attracted to Julian and no one else. We've never really talked about it. It's clear. Do you think there are 3 of us? No, Tana said. Never with you. You don't deserve this. No, I think not. However, I can't blame the girl for trying. You know I still love Julian. I will always love him. We'll make a great team. I don't see much of a team there, I said. You are playing too much for the opposition. She sighed. See, you never really understood. I have never been in any opposition team. You don't understand that intimate is intimate, love is love. I have never had the slightest feeling for anyone other than you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Sort of, she said. I once had intimate with a couple for whom I had no feelings. I was into it while it lasted, but afterwards, I felt kind of cheap. I don't think you understand, Arjun said. I understand that some people have open marriages and all that. I'm not judging them, but they can do what they want. Like going behind people's backs who love you, having intimates sneak up on you, and doing treacherous to them. Okay, I know it was wrong, Arjun said. I apologize for this and will apologize 1,000 times more. I just got carried away. I didn't see any way to get Julian on board. Maybe if No, I screwed up. I can't go back in anyone. No, you can't, I said. We're not here to blame each other, are we? Why are you here, Arjun? You wanted to talk. What are you doing? I'm struggling, she said. Neither with you nor with T. I see what you have. I'm fighting for a piece of you, Julian. I didn't do anything because I didn't love you. She glanced at Tana. I would like a piece of you too. I know you must be special, otherwise, Julian wouldn't be with you. What can I do? Tana said. Move on. You are very attractive, Arjun. I like you, but it'll just be Julian and me, Tana said. Arjun looked at her for a long time. I still love him. Yes, I know. I see it. You just love yourself more, Tana said. There's no point in repeating this over and over again. Nothing will change. I need you to sign the divorce papers, I told Arjun. We can make it simple. There's no need to argue about anything. Does that sound good? She sighed again. I don't want a divorce. I want to go back to where I belong. The 3 of us can handle it. We are intelligent. Tana shook her head. You don't belong anymore. I do. What about a mediator? A consultant? Arjun asked. That won't happen, I said. Let it go. She sighed. I won't let this go. I will sign the papers, but I will always hope. I know you're a good person, Julian. You won't be angry about the settlement. I trust you. It's a pity that I can't trust you, I said. No, I won't go there. There are some strange things going on at work, Arjun said. Tana laughed. I see that this amused you a little. Arjun said. The giggles intensified and caused me to start. And then Arjun, yeah, I guess I should say thank you for not getting me involved. Yes, you should, Tana said. We finished eating, and Arjun stood up to leave. Will I ever see you again? She asked us. No, we both said at the same time. She turned away and left. We watched her go. She has a nice 5th place, Tana said. Who? I asked. This woman, she said. Do you know her? Yes, she is someone I once knew, I said. I turned to my little lover. Tana, I want you to know that I am going to ask you to marry me as soon as the divorce is final. I think we'll be in Micronesia for now, she squealed slightly in delight. I can't wait. What do you think of our story today? I like that the main character didn't put up with a cheating wife and found true love. I hope everything will be fine for them in the future. Write your opinion in the comments. Thanks for staying with us.